services. They will be approximately 1 hour, and we'll have questions and answers at the end. And then at the very end, Dr. Nala Afifi, the head of the Qatar Biobank, will give a brief closing remarks. So let me start by introducing our two speakers this morning. The first one is Wilma Lobo. Wilma spoke to us on, I believe, the very first day of our first module. She is the business support specialist at QBB. She's been working at the Biobank since 2013 and joined as a clinic and lab coordinator. Wilma's played a key role in creating several procedures and establishing workflows in the QBB quality management. She led the role of ISO coordinator and worked closely with the ISO certifying company to close gaps and achieve ISO certification. Her other roles include procurement, finance activities, procurement of clinical laboratory facility communications and IT equipment, and she supports the QBB's financial activities, planning operations, capital budget, and related transactions. Please mute your phone if you're not part of the presentation. Can you please mute your phone? Everyone, please mute if you're not presenting. We'll move through. People aren't listening. Our second presenter this morning is Elizabeth Jos. Elizabeth is a regulatory and accreditation coordinator at the Qatar Biobank. Elizabeth joined the regulatory and accreditation in 2015, and has contributed to its endeavor of establishing the Research Access Office by forming and articulating the processes and supporting the development and implementation of the online research portal for biospecimen and data sharing. Elizabeth also supports the Qatar Biobank Institutional Review Board, or IRB, as the coordinator in the ethical approvals of research projects submitted by researchers and ensures regular operational coordination for the delivery of data biological samples with the QBB team to the scientific research community. She is entrusted with the role of risk champion at QBB, enabling the risk management process, and also supports in the ISO audit as the ISO internal auditor for the QBB. So let's get started today. Let me just say one thing. If you are not presenting, please put your Zoom meeting on mute so that we don't get any echoes or background noise. Wilma, I'll turn it over to you now.
Begin our presentation.
Good day, everyone. On behalf of Qatar Biobank and my colleague Elizabeth, I welcome you all to our final presentation of webinar day 5 and thank you for participating with us. We have no conflict of interest or commercial bias to declare in relation to this presentation. In today's session, I will provide you with insights into the facility and staff licenses required in medical research in Qatar. My colleague Elizabeth will then present the process of establishing the Institutional Review Board, ethical and scientific approvals for research projects, and how the researchers access our data, samples, and services. This is our state-of-the-art building, Qatar Biobank, which is located within Hamad bin Khalifa Medical City in Doha. Qatar Biobank is a scientific partnership between the research community and the people of Qatar to build a better, healthier future for generations to come. We design and implement studies that allow for the collection, processing, and storage of biological samples and its associated data for research purposes. We require many resources to develop a biobank. Broadly, these are classified into human, financial, physical, and intellectual resources. For today's session, I will be concentrating mainly on the facility and human resource that require licenses. As showcased in our previous sessions, QBB hosts tons of clinical, laboratory, and IT equipment rating from low to high risks. Risks are imposed due to liquid nitrogen in cryolab, helium used for quenching MRI, and X-rays emitted from the bone densitometers. No matter the number and types of controls apply, an organization will still face risks. QBB has also analyzed its various risks, and obtaining or renewing the license is one of our significant action plans. We aim tirelessly to mitigate any risks by following stringent equipment management procedures, staff training, and upkeeping our licenses. QBB allocates budgets for obtaining these licenses. We will begin with facility permit and licenses. Across the world, facility permits and licenses are created to set minimum requirements for safe, healthy, energy efficient, and accessible buildings. These requirements vary between industries and countries. To guarantee that these requirements are applied, various legal standards are created. Building permits are generally obtained after the completion of the building design phase and prior to the start of construction or any civil modification of the building. Obtaining building permits is the responsibility of the construction company we have engaged with. Thereafter, building licenses must be obtained prior to occupancy of the building or initiating the approved business activities. The licenses are then managed by the business owner. In Qatar, licenses are indispensable, and the process is dedicated by various ministries. For healthcare and medical research institutes, we need to comply with the regulations stipulated by the Ministry of Public Health, by the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change, the Ministry of Interior, and the General Directorate of Civil Defense. The license process ensures our biobank facility meets standard requirements for safety and quality for its staff and visitors. I will demonstrate a few slides on each of these licenses. The Ministry of Public Health in Qatar specifically oversees the licensing process of healthcare facilities and clinical, medical, and laboratory staff. Every healthcare facility is assigned a MOPH inspector who provides the standards required for compliance and guidance to facilitate the licensing process. The website moph.gov.qa provides us with the initial and renewal application forms. Simultaneously, as we apply for the facility's initial licensing, we also must apply for technical assessment for the safety of each medical device installed in QBB. The assessment is only for those devices which our research participants will directly use during their study visit. We must provide the equipment's original FDA and CE certificate, country of origin certificate, technical brochure, maintenance program, room layout of where the device will be installed, training certificate for the healthcare practitioner on the device, and letter of intended research use. If we comply with all the requirements, we then receive the approval for the usage of that equipment. QBB must comply with almost 240 clauses in the standards. These standards pertain to leadership, finance, lab, imaging, infection prevention and control, and many others. We then submit our evidence of compliance such as photos, procedures, record logs to the MOPH inspector. These further include air, water, and noise, and other engineering controls such as generator testing, periodic lift maintenance, first aid boxes, AED checks, etc. Once these documents are passed, another set of MOPH inspectors perform a full safety inspection. During the inspection, if passed or with few low-risk findings, we can successfully renew our certificate. If not, we then provide corrective action plans for high-risk findings within 2 weeks. Again, another inspection is performed till our requirements are satisfactorily complied with. This is one sample of the low-risk finding we received during this January inspection. We use closed trolleys to transport hazardous waste from various floors to the ground floor waste room. During this inspection, it was identified that our trolleys lack spill kits and is a potential risk in case of a waste spill. We immediately purchased and installed these and closed this finding. Once passed, we obtain our license, and this is to be renewed annually. Every year, the MOPH facility license renewal standards are updated, ensuring best industry practices. On our clinic force, we have 4 IDEXA bone densitometers to measure the bone mineral density and body composition values as part of our study protocol. These equipment emit low amounts of X-rays. Possession of any radiation equipment must be authorized by the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change, the MOECC. For obtaining this license, we are required to submit the specification of building walls and protective partitions, engineering controls that are in place such as mechanical locks, safety and warning devices, location and dimension of doors, windows, ventilation openings and corridors. We also have to submit a report stating the nature of the surrounding sites. Every radiology technician has a personal dosimeter and its monthly readings are also provided. We also need to submit calibration records of our devices. The radiology technicians must wear lead aprons to reduce radiation exposure. We also have lead shielding in our imaging rooms. Lead is one of the most used materials for radiation shielding. Due to its high density, it's very effective at reducing radiation exposure from X-rays and gamma rays. All these controls are regularly sent for quality checks and we replace them if any QC fails. The QC is performed by an outsourced supplier and must be MOECC and ISO certified. With these controls in place, we assure our participants for their safety. Along with those controls and its records, we also need procedures for infection controls, radiation safety programs, an emergency plan, and hazardous waste disposal procedure with training records on these procedures. We need a trained and qualified radiation safety officer with more than 5 years of experience in the field. The training certificate is renewed every 2 years and the RSO license is renewed every 3 years. Once the licensing documents are submitted and have been reviewed and found satisfactory, we then have the inspections performed by the MOECC authorities. If all our controls pass during the inspection, we obtain the license for possession of radiation equipment in the field for scientific research. This is renewed every 3 years. The next we have is a CCTV license from the Ministry of Interior. The Ministry of Interior is the main body to check the country's security. It monitors what's going on around the country and keeps it safe. All entities must obtain the license through a third-party MOI authorized contractor. We have more than 125 cameras across Qatar Biobank. This inspection is conducted to check any blind spots, monitor the time length of each camera, tamper with any cameras or its data storage, UPS capacity, and data capacity. We must maintain 120 days of recording. Once requirements are fulfilled, this is the license thus obtained. Bearing in mind Qatar's 2030 environment sustainability vision, QBB must comply with strict clinical and waste transfer and disposal procedures by applying for a waste permit from the MOECC. The outsourced waste transport company, along with our in-house housekeeping company, are trained and licensed for hazardous waste management. We have to maintain an up-to-date MSDS with our chemical inventory. Once all requirements are in place, the MOECC inspects our site to confirm the application details. If all passes, we receive this permit. Without this permit, no healthcare centers can transport or dispose of their hazardous waste. This is renewed annually. The General Directorate of Civil Defense establishes the guidelines in determining the minimum design and construction requirements for firefighting, fire alarm and detection, smoke control provision, as well as other valuable life safety concerns necessary for the protection of precious lives and properties. QBB has several fire prevention equipment for our MRI, laboratories, and FM200 suppression system for our data center. We perform monthly, quarterly, and annual preventive maintenance for this. The image on the right is the license for the same and is renewed every 2 years. In our experience, this license is the most challenging of all. We will now move on to the staff license requirements in Qatar Biobank. As per the national regulations in Qatar, for a medical research center, licensing is solely required for clinical staff handling participants and collecting biological samples from them, for laboratory personnel who are responsible to collect, transport, process, store, and distribute the biological samples. The licensing process ensures that all license holders possess the minimum degree of educational qualification and competency required to ensure the health and safety of their participants and themselves. The Department of Healthcare Practitioners in the Ministry of Public Health, Qatar, is responsible for regulating all healthcare practitioners working in both government and private healthcare sectors. The goal of this department is to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the public. The DHP will not risk the safety of the public by allowing a person to practice before the results of the verification process are known, ensuring the validity and safety of these services provided to the citizens and the residents of the state of Qatar. To obtain the new or subsequent license renewals, the individual must perform the primary source verification, data flow, certificate of good standing from the previously worked organizations, medical fitness test, MOI letter for police clearance, continuous professional development of 40 CPD points relevant to their work area, and prometric exam. Similarly, staff working with X-rays are required to obtain a radiation license from the MOECC. This license ensures staff is qualified to handle radiation materials and adopt controls for the environment and patient safety. The radiation technologists must attend the radiation safety course for this renewal. When the COVID-19 pandemic hit us in 2020, a work from home policy was activated. But during the peak COVID stage, QBB initiated a COVID-19 biorepository project. The facility safety controls were changed to minimize contact and infection. The clause for standards included more controls for COVID-19 precaution. We installed high-definition thermal camera for body temperature detection at the main entrance as screening controls. We installed several UV air sterilizers across QBB. We installed floor stickers to remind ourselves of physical distancing. COVID-19 PPEs were purchased. We did several rounds of risk assessment for staff attending QBB and other COVID-19 hospital sites. Over the months, we built strategic guidelines for the post-COVID-19 reactivation framework. We faced a lot of challenges in our licensing process. The starting point is a challenge. You cannot start a facility license without a licensed staff or vice versa. Most of the licensing bodies in Qatar have requirements only for diagnostic center. To date, we face challenges as there is no clear demarcation between medical versus research licensing standards. Our staff needs 40 CPD points on a yearly basis. Finding relevant training according to our work practice is another challenge. To fulfill the licensing requirements, we have to continuously modify and add civil controls in the facility. This requires further planning, design approvals, funds, and tedious project management. To help us streamline various license applications, QBB has documented a step-by-step process on how to apply any initial or renewal licenses. We now have an in-house expertise from various QBB disciplines forming a health and safety committee. The health and safety members perform an in-depth departmental risk analysis and update required procedures. We also have trained and competent QBB fire wardens to guide us during any fire incidents. Owing to the license processes, we have collaborated with Hamad Medical Corporation through comprehensive health and safety training and creatively developed several QBB in-house training. Overall, the licensing requirements significantly increase our skill sets to better judge our work, to provide efficient, systematic products and services daily to be a part of QBB's continual improvement cycle. In conclusion, obtaining a facility or staff license is a challenging, rigorous process and it requires efforts, time and money. The regulations are complex and require diligent follow-ups, document and record controls, etc. The national licensing regulations again reaffirm the other environmental or other structural requirements of ISO and CAP clauses. This helps us again to reinforce our quality and safety standards, thereby reducing risks. Every individual in Qatar Biobank is accountable for lowering health and safety risk and thereby increasing our safety and quality of services. I would like to thank all my colleagues for their dedicated support in upkeeping our license process. Thank you for your time, and Elizabeth will now continue the rest of our agenda.
Thank you, Wilma. Good day, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Jose from the Research Access Office at QBB. I shall now describe the second part of the presentation, QBB Access Office Journey, Establishment of the IRB, and as researchers' access to data and biological samples at QBB. Based on our vision, QBB aims to provide vital medical research possible for scientists in Qatar. The Access Office journey started in 2014 with the manual application process to provide researchers with data and biological samples. In 2016, we received the MOPH approvals to establish QBB IRB, and review of the research studies were conducted. In 2017, the access process was included in the scope for ISO 9001-2015 certification. In 2020, we launched the online research portal. And in 2022, we included COVID-19 study in the research portal for researchers to be provided with data and samples. QBB manual process included the research submission of an access application request by the researchers through email. Once reviewed by the scientific committee, it was sent to the IRB for review and approvals. Furthermore, non-disclosure agreement and material transfer agreements were required to be signed and submitted. The extraction form was also being created by the extraction team through an email process. Tracking of the registration was manually done in an Excel template to track the progress of all research projects. The establishment of an institutional review board. The Institutional Review Board is an administrative body established to protect the rights and welfare of human research subjects recruited to participate in research activities conducted in the institution. The IRB is responsible of reviewing all research involving human participants. It is conducted with protecting the welfare and rights of the human subjects. It has the authority to approve, exempt, disapprove, and require modification in all research activities. At QBB, we have established a QBB IRB. Following are the 4 steps followed to establish an IRB. In 2016, the Qatar Biobank Board of Members appointed the IRB chair and recommends members nominated for the IRB. The Institutional Review Board shall have at least 5 members of varying backgrounds in order to provide complete and adequate review of human research and its institutional, legal, scientific, and social implications. The Institutional Review Board will also include at least 1 member who is not affiliated with the institution and another 1 member who is community member, not a scientist. The role of IRB member is to review the study protocol submitted and attend to full board meetings as requested and convened. Step 3. Various policies and procedures for implementation are also established and uploaded to the Ministry of Public Health Research portal with the IRB roster. Step 4. On meeting all prerequisites and as per MOPH review, the IRB is issued an MOPH letter of approval with the assurance letter. Each institution that is engaged in human subject research must submit an assurance application to the Department of Research online research portal at the Ministry of Public Health Qatar. In general, an institution is engaged in human subject research whenever the institution employs or agents intervene or interact with human subjects for research purposes. The Ministry of Public Health main policy, titled Policies, Regulation and Guidelines for Research Involving Human, guards ethical conduct of human research. Once the review process is completed, the approval letter is provided to the institution by Ministry of Public Health. The slide displays the QBB IRB approval letter for establishment of QBB Institutional Review Board valid for 3 years and the QBB Assurance Approval Letter valid for a year to be renewed annually based on review by Ministry of Public Health. The access process. For the conduct of research, QBB has established the access process, which lays down the process to access QBB cohort data and samples, COVID data and samples, and stroke data. Furthermore, we also have the nested project, wherein the researchers would like to collect data and samples for a set of identified cohort. Sample donation process is also established to support researchers who would like to donate the samples collected to QBB. Furthermore, we have also established the facility services for the researchers and scientific community for a minimal charge for those who would like to use QBB facility and infrastructure like lab for processing samples or clinic for recruitment and collecting data for their project. In 2017, the access process was included in the scope for ISO 9001-2015 audit and certification. The challenges we faced. There are few challenges we faced at QBB while establishing the access process. Number one, customized requirement model, wherein customized extract is provided to the researchers, which is time consuming and tedious for our extraction team. Number two, amendments, incorporating amendments in the process and documents. Number three, access, providing data to researchers in a secured and timely manner, and remote access for genomic data. Step 4, collaboration, requests from different entities with varied areas. Step 5, including prospective studies, requests for COVID data, and other studies from researchers. With the leadership and support of the management to overcome some of these challenges, the research portal development was initiated and developed in 2019. This was very timely with the onset of COVID in 2020 and working from home conditions, as we were able to continue with our endeavor to support researchers and provide them with data online. The key objective was to provide online access in a systematic and consistent manner to access QBB data and biosamples for the researchers and the scientific community. Online steps to access process. In 2020, we moved on to the online research portal. There are 5 main steps to access the data and biological samples at QBB. Step 1. The researcher submits the application to QBB through online research portal, which is reviewed scientifically and approved by the scientific committee. Step 2. The IRB chair reviews and approves the study, and IRB approval letter is uploaded on the research portal. Step 3. The NDA and MTA agreement is sent along with the invoice to the researcher for sign-off and payment. Step 4. The request is assigned to the extraction team for extraction and review through the research portal. Step 5. Completion of the extraction of data. It is delivered online to the PI and the biosamples are collected from QBB lab. I shall now take you through the research portal link and explain the research access application process. The researcher has to register and sign in to the research portal. Once he logs in, he enters the research portal and clicks on My Application. Further, under New tab, he has the following selections available. Number 1, the query application. Number 2, QBB application. Number 3, COVID-19 application. Number 4, stroke study application. Number 5, QBB and COVID-19 application. Number 6, QBB and stroke study application. I shall start with the query application. The query can be selected by the researcher if he wants to check the availability for his study based on his requirements. He fills up the project details under the scientific summary. The study includes the exclusion-inclusion criteria, further the requirements, and puts in the requirement count, participant count, the team members, including the lead PI and the co-PI. Once completing the application, he submits the query to the Access Office. The Access Office, with the help of the extraction team, checks on availability and responds to the researcher through the RP. The next is the QBB application. The researcher fills in the project details, which contains the basic information for the study. The next tab contains the details, the scientific summary, under which the background, project aim, research methods have to be filled in by the researcher. Furthermore, the research areas, potential impact, project plan, dissemination of findings. The next tab he fills up is the study tab, wherein he fills the inclusion and exclusion criteria for the study as well, and then fills in the requirements, mentioning the number of participants required for a study. He also includes the team members, his lead PI and co-PI, and further fills up the indemnity, clicking on each checkbox. He submits the document required for a study. Once he completes the application, he submits the application to the Access Office. The Access Office further reviews for its completeness and approves it to be sent to the scientific committee. Once reviewed and approved based on availability, the application is sent to the IRB office for review and approval. The same step and process applies to the other four combined applications. Step 2. QBB IRB Review and Approvals. The IRB review has three categories: exempted approval, expedite approval, and full board approvals. Accordingly, an approval letter is generated and uploaded on the research portal. The IRB reviews all research applications related to human participants submitted at QBB. Step 3. Sign-off of non-disclosure agreement and material transfer agreements by researchers and team members. A non-disclosure agreement and material transfer agreement should be put in place prior to sharing any valuable information. This is to ensure that the data and information are kept confidential, and the disclosed information shall be used for research purpose only by the researcher with the team and shall not be misused or shared with anyone else. This is generated from the research portal and is downloaded by the researcher for signatures and uploaded back to the research portal for Access Office verification. Step 4. Data extraction. Data extraction is done by the extraction team as per the researcher's customized requirement based on the extract form generated in the research portal. At QBB, we have the omics data comprising of proteomics, genomics, metabolomics, and phenotypic data, which is considered to be a gold mine for researchers. The term omics generally refers to rigorous study of complete set of biological and non-biological molecules with high throughput techniques. Biosamples provided to researchers. The lab, along with the acquisition team, collects and stores the samples to be retrieved for research. As required, each extraction retrieval is customized and is based on the extraction form, and sample pick list is uploaded by the extraction team on the Laboratory Information Management System for the lab to retrieve the samples. The Access Office informs the researcher for collection of samples ready for shipment along with the sample delivery and quality report for the researchers. Delivery of data and biological samples. On extraction of the data, the extraction team and biological samples by the lab Access Office is notified through the research portal. Further, the delivery of data is done through the research portal, and the samples are collected by the researchers from QBB lab. Once completing of delivery of samples and data, the researcher starts his research project. The research monitoring process is activated on the research portal, and before 1 month of the annual IRB approval expiry, researchers are requested to submit a progress report for renewal. If the project has been completed within that period, the researcher submits the publication, presentation, or poster for his relevant study, and closing the project is initiated. The feedback is further requested from the researcher. Research feedback. The research feedback is one of our key performance indicators and is correlated based on questions focused on 4 specific areas, including awareness of QBB resources, clarity of the access process, response from the access team, and quality of data and samples provided to the researcher. The above table depicts the overall researcher's feedback, which is part of a quality management system as a key performance indicator. The average yearly in the year 2017-18 was 85%. In 2018, it was 77%. By 2020, with the onset of our online research portal, it was 81%. In 2021, it was 92%, and in 2022 is 90%. Some of the feedback from the researchers were very inspiring, which commended QBB on following aspects. Number 1, QBB's efforts in advancing research in Qatar. Number 2, the professional support and feedback from the Access Office received by the researchers. Number 3, the quality of data received from QBB. And number 4, the online delivery of data. As per our journey as of today, we have registered about 362 projects in all at QBB with an average of 33 projects. We started in the year 2014 with 12 projects and have been increasing yearly. The institutional collaboration request for access to data is majorly from these institutions like Qatar University, followed by Sidra, Hamad Medical Corporation, Weill Cornell Medical University in Qatar, and Hamad bin Khalifa University. Local collaborators include Ministry of Public Health, Hamad bin Khalifa University, Qatar Biomedical Research Institute, Anti-Doping Lab, and Hamad Medical Corporation, to name a few. International collaborators for research projects include Imperial College of London, University of Liverpool, Weill Cornell Medicine, Stanford University, and others. We have a total of 42% ongoing projects and 22% of completed projects, research projects. Out of these ongoing and completed projects, QBB has received in all 86 publications that have been published using QBB data and biosamples in renowned journals like Elsevier, Journal of Translation Medicine, Dove Press, and Journal and Public Med Journal. With this, I come to the last slide of my presentation. On behalf of Qatar Biobank, we would like to thank the International 100K Consortium for giving us the opportunity to share this global community, this exciting journey of establishing the Qatar Biobank through these webinars. We would like to thank every member of QBB for all their accomplishments. Hope this information and experience will give you all an insight of establishing biobanks globally. Thank you once again for joining all the sessions.
Thank you, Elizabeth. That was an outstanding presentation, and Wilma, yours was too. I will open this now to any questions. We don't have any in the chat, but would anyone like to ask any questions online of Wilma or Elizabeth? Let me ask a question of you, Elizabeth. With your access procedure, can you give me a sense of how long it takes between when someone submits an access request till they receive either number one, a data package, a digital package, or number two, an actual biosample? And is that time variable, or is it about usually the same amount of time?
Thank you, Scott. Yeah, this time is actually variable because it varies from project to projects. We are providing customized requirement for the researchers. So each requirement for the research project.
There, I think the echo went away.
Sorry. Is it clear now?
It's not.
I think Elizabeth, one computer only. You cannot open two computers for the sound, for the echo.
Yes, doctor, we have opened only one. Is it clear now?
I can answer this question in case that the sound is better.
Thank you, Nora.
Yes, so from our side, it varies depending on the inclusion and exclusion criteria, and also if there is a sample related to the study or only data. So it is varies, but usually to be for the IRB, usually between 2 to 3 weeks only maximum, because most of the projects, it will be either exempted or expedited because the data are anonymized. But for running the extraction and preparing the extraction and reviewing it, because we have to double check that the data is corrected, extracting and preparing the samples, this will take like in total 2 months before delivering. Yeah.
That's still very rapid. I commend you on how quickly you're able to turn around requests into actual delivery of data or samples.
Yes. Thank you.
Any other questions from anyone? I think Elizabeth and Wilma, like yesterday, you've done such a good job explaining your parts and processes of the QBB. There's just no questions that anyone can think of to ask. Well, thank you again for your presentations. Nala, I know you wanted to make some closing remarks.
Yes, thank you, Scott, for that. And of course, for everyone who attended the 5 sessions organized by the Biobank, as we come to the end of this webinar series, I would like to take a moment to express our gratitude to Dr. Latifa and Scott and IHCC team for organizing such a valuable event for biobanking community and for providing a platform for us to share our knowledge and experience with everyone. I also want to thank my team at the Biobank for their contributions in presenting our work and insight during these sessions. Your dedication to the advancement of biobanking is truly inspiring. Lastly, I encourage all of you attendees to continue exploring the resources and material shared during this webinar series. And also, please don't hesitate to contact us for any further inquiries. Thank you all for your joining us, and have a great day ahead. Thank you again.
Thank you. And let me also echo our gratitude from the IHCC for you and your staff providing the immense amount of time. I counted it up. We had 8 hours of training that's available over the last 5 modules that we talked about. That's 8 hours of what people saw in the webinar. That does not include the many hours that I'm sure people put into preparing the presentations that were all done, which were all excellent. They were all outstanding. I've gotten just fantastic feedback from people on this. Everyone wants to be able to review some of the presentations and ask more questions. I think you'll have many of them coming. So again, thank you to all the presenters. And I know that the presenters are just a portion of the staff at QBB NALA. So thank you to all of the staff there. You've got an outstanding organization and you've done an outstanding job. But I especially want to thank you. For many of you that may not know, the QBB is one of our cohort members of the International 100K Cohorts Consortium, and that NALA is a member of what we call our Training and Workforce Development Work Group that's headed up by Latifa. And as part of that work group, she came up with the idea that biobank training would not be just something nice to have, but something that would be really needed by people all around the world. And so the recognition that I think is most important from the IHCC is that the peers, her cohort peers in the IHCC membership, elected her at the end of last year to our steering committee, our scientific steering committee going forward. So her leadership, her commitment to population health in Qatar, as well as around the world, is paramount. So thank you very much, Nala, and thank you to everyone at QBB.
Thank you, Scott, for your feedback and encouragement, honestly, and your feedback is well received. Thank you very much.
Thanks for attending, everyone. One last thing, you will be receiving an evaluation form, and fill that out, return the information. As you saw, the feedback that QBB gets from all of their different portals is useful as their process is improved with time as it goes on. So fill that out and you will get a certificate of attendance. If you have any questions about anything, please let us know here at IHCC and we will forward those questions on to the team at QBB. Thank you for attending.
Thank you and have a nice day all. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.